James is having a broccoli salad, and he's going to talk about this Jimi Hendrix thing, and a little more about the Stones, and then I'm going to talk about Dispatches from Elsewhere, Stephen King's Golden Years, and the Caveman's Valentine. So the broccoli crunch salad, that came from a bag that I got for very little. I didn't pay very much for that at all. And Opie right here, he's wanting the bacon because he can tell.
Well, I thought he's just a big Jimi Hendrix fan.
No, I didn't put the bacon in, of course.
Oh,
so
okay.
you get to give this to the dogs as you see fit.
Okay.
And that's what they want.
Yeah, they can smoke. Yeah. Anyway, they were Jimi Hendrix, especially Elvis. He's a big Jimi Hendrix fan. Today when I was finishing stuff up, he was hearing the lyrics now. We had a dog called Carlos who used to love listening to the stereo in the car, and then he'd rock out anytime. Well, he liked Beck doing a parody of Axl Rose, yeah.
And he also liked that.
Bruce Springsteen.
Well, he liked that
Nebraska,
one, but he liked the Werewolves in London.
Oh, that was his favorite.
Yeah, he loved that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he'd really rock out. It was amazing.
My first time my dad heard him, I don't know what triggered him, howling, because we're in my dad's place. It's pretty quiet in there. But Carlos was 5.5 pounds. But boy, did he rock out. His whole body would quiver. It was loud. It was, I enjoyed it. But my dad he was laughing so hard he turned purple. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. He actually survived. Carlos died.
So, it says that this is season 1. I don't know I guess I'll probably watch season 2. The way it wrapped up, it seemed like they're not going to have another season, but I don't know. Maybe seeing as it says season 1 on it, they must have another one coming. So what year does this say? 2020. So they probably already have. So you're probably watching there and go, oh yeah, they already have 4 or 5, whatever. I don't know. Now, one thing, I see Richard E. Grant on the back here, and I'm gonna watch anything with him in it, because who doesn't love him? But and honestly, Sally Field, she's really cute, and yeah, I liked the series. I liked the beginning a lot more than the end. It seemed to be going somewhere really interesting, and then I don't know if it really got there. I think it just somewhere in the middle, actually, I started going, is this really going to go anywhere? It just seems like it's just a lot of busy work and whatever. And I like solving mysteries, right? So anybody who likes solving mysteries and a little bit is kind of sci-fi-y, then they're probably going to enjoy this, but probably only up until about the same point that I did, because it just kind of leveled off a bit, even dropped off a bit. So anyway, I think it's great to have a transgendered woman in as the love interest in a story, and so that's great to see. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes with season 2 and whatever. If I end up seeing that, whatever. I like the whole idea of relate to each one of these characters. She is you, or whatever. Just think of her as you, or think of him as you, or whatever, all the way along. And then at the end, I don't think it was really wrapped up well. But anyway, Stephen King's Golden Years. It's amazing how, like, this was done quite a while ago, 1991. It's amazing how special effects have come far in television. You see this and it's like, oh, okay, flashing Christmas lights and a smoke machine, and there you go.
Loud noises.
That's what you get, or whatever. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not much. And anyway, Elvis,
Do you want to go inside?
you get your bacon and all of a sudden really chatty, hey? You would have sat here quietly all day long without getting it into your mouth. So, anyway, yeah, I thought this was kind of stupid. I don't know.
You used to love Stephen King, but that's when you were like
When
a
I was
teenager, or
10,
even before.
when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
That's when I
No,
was a big fan
not
of
so
Stephen
much.
King. I don't know. I mean, there's got to be something maybe that I didn't enjoy this, but anyway, it's maybe it could have went somewhere. It just didn't. It seemed really stupid after a while. The whole like shoot 'em up thing and chasing after and all that. It's honestly, it's maybe some people are thinking, oh yeah, what are the agriculture research centers doing? And they're good, but really, is anybody jumping to these sort of conclusions? I mean, that's and and just I mean, people might have fear about the government and stuff. I guess a lot of people do, but do they really think they have like hired hitmen to try to control information from getting out to them? Like, come on, it's just stupid.
Most places they do, but in democracies they don't.
So, the Caveman's Valentine. I would never have guessed I'd put a Samuel L. Jackson movie on the bottom of the stack, but this is dreadful. Nobody would want to watch this. So,
It's current, eh?
no,
Oh, it's old.
I don't know. I mean, the box says 2001, but that
It's not
seems
current, yeah.
unlikely to me anyway. It seems so, but maybe it was. Maybe that's right. Anyway, it's just bad, just so bad. So go ahead and talk about whatever, because I'm done with that. And so I'll get these dogs in, and you can just chat. So
Okay.
come on, guys, let's go. Move it.
You want to go in? They want to go in.
Okay, see you later.
Good.
Oh.
Sorry about that water break. Giving the other stations time to catch up. Anyway, just finished watching this up today. At last, the beginning of Making of Electric Ladyland. Whereas can you believe it? The record company, when they put out the acetate of it for them to listen to before release, they figured they'd made a mistake. Electric Landlady. That's what they put on.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So yeah, that's worth finding out about. Just watching that's worth watching.
And they weren't just talking. They actually showed the label.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Anyway, how did you find the salad? I did want to mention something about the broccoli salad.
Was very good and it's tasting very healthy. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
well, I just licked some of the salad dressing when I was putting it on there, and I thought, oh my, that's sweet. And honestly, like, I realized this is this broccoli sort of bacony salad is a very common one. I loved it when I was I didn't eat the bacon. I didn't eat this salad in particular, but when I made salad recipes, this is one I would make, and but I'd put red onion in it, and that was better, I think, because it gives you another heat, right? It's good. And then I put raisins in, and it was the only thing I liked raisins in. And so I would eat the broccoli salad just for the raisins, because I would think, okay, well, this one recipe I can eat raisins.
The raisins are standard in broccoli salad?
Yeah. And so they put dried cranberries in this one, which is also, that's fine. That's good. Maybe better. I don't know.
I suspect better than
But
raisins.
anyway, but when I would make mine, I just put a little bit of liquid smoke into the dressing, and that works out just
Instead
as well.
of the bacon.
You don't have to. But a lot of people, even vegetarian people, they'll just put the simulated bacon bits in, and go with that, and
I can do
whatever.
without it. I really don't miss the taste of meat and stuff like that. But if you're missing it, it's better to, as healthier, not just ethically better, to go with a simulation.
Yeah.
And it's healthier. I keep on running across people who have led on healthy lifestyles, and they're paying for it. What was I going to say? Yeah, those bacon bits, I couldn't even stand licking my fingers off. I had to do. Sorry.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
Well,
whatever.
You don't want the
grease.
I don't like.
Yeah, I know.
I would have put it in the oven on a pan or something like that, because it was, it was like it was raw.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
bacon bits are usually.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Like when I was a little kid,
like
my grandma'd make me bacon and stuff sometimes, and well, when we lived on the farm too, right? And that's it. I would only eat it if it was crunchy.
Yeah,
it couldn't have any of those rubbery bits, or I would not touch it.
I couldn't stand that.
Yeah. So I can't believe they put ones that aren't crunchy in a salad like this.
I'm really feeling bad about those kind of prepared meats. So I've been reading. I'll be reviewing it probably starting tomorrow about the mafia murder of JFK.
Oh.
And they're talking about
prepared meats. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like rotten horse meat and stuff.
Gross.
Like, they're breaking the law by getting really rotten meat and putting it in. Things like salami and so on and so forth. And they're feeding that's like Italians feeding their own, like who else eats it?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
All right.
And unhealthy.
Have fun talking about the music.
You bet. Yeah. Watched this, finished it up today. Electric Ladyland, and it's very good. It's actually better than this Rolling Stones thing, just marginally better. One of the things I liked about it is just focused on the music. That's what it's about. And I think the thing was Eddie Kramer or something like that. Probably the engineer who worked on the album, or one of the engineers. He's in front of one of these control panels, whatever they're called, console. And he's fading some things out, fading other things out. So you can focus on what Jimi Hendrix is playing or singing or toning. Some of the effects he worked on with Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix making wind noises with his mouth, with stuff like that. And backwards things, so on and so forth. He's saying 200, 300 years from now, they'll still be listening to Jimi Hendrix. It could be. There won't be much stuff from the 60s they'll be listening to. Almost nothing from the 70s. Nothing from the 80s. Nothing. Nothing from the 90s. Nothing from the 2000s. Nothing from the teens of this century. And it sounds like nothing from the 20s. I don't know if they'll listen to much from the 50s. Just the 60s. Maybe some stuff from the 70s. And if there is stuff that's listening 200 years from now, 300 years from now, Hendrix probably should be. This might be the height of his career, I don't know if he put out much in '69. I got the thing that was put out posthumously just after he died, I guess in 1970. But he died in 70, but I'm not sure. The album might have been put out in 71. It was obviously a work in progress. The progress stopped with his death. wasn't very good. That put me off of Hendrix for a while. And I think it was Buddy Miles, who was the latter-day drummer for Jimi Hendrix, after somehow or another, what was his name? Mitch Mitchell? I always mixed up Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell. Departed the scene. I got the impression that Noel Redding kind of was only too happy to leave. The bassist, I forgot. I always forget. I remember and then I forget. Or I remind myself. I refresh my memory and then I forget. But, Buddy Miles was saying it's better than Sgt. Pepper's, or right up there with Sgt. Pepper's list. It might be up there with Beatles' Double White Album, but not up there with Sgt. Pepper's, nor up there with Revolver. Why? Because the Beatles, it's a team effort. You know, Eddie Kramer is doing the job kind of like that George Martin did with the Beatles, though he apparently didn't do much work on the White Album. Was back again, helping out in Abbey Road. But Hendrix's lyrics just aren't up to even Paul McCartney's best lyrics. Things like on Revolver. 66 was like when McCartney hit his peak lyrically. And basically it's been slowly downhill from there. So, and, you know, when you're talking about a peak like Eleanor Rigby, or something a little poppier, paperback writing, that's a pretty high peak. But McCartney had the good taste, want to hang with John Lennon. And Lennon, at his best, was a pretty sharp writer, pretty sharp poet, maybe. I don't know. Not a poet in the sense of Leonard Cohen or Bob Dylan or even Joni Mitchell. But, you got to put words together. Hendrix, he's about the best of the African American or pop rock artists that I can think of for putting words together. There's probably been some better. So I want to make it perfectly clear. He blows the hip-hop so-called poets, doggerel writers, a better description, out of the water, blows their doors and floors off. But that's not to say he was a great writer. He tried, you know, he's putting colors in there and so on and so forth. He's trying stuff. He had a kind of like a poetic impulse. But I wouldn't call it, I'd call it poetry, but not great poetry by any means. So that side of things is lacking, and then Kramer points out Hendrix did, I think, 3 backing vocals. At least one was done in falsettos, saying he had a good falsetto, yeah. His regular voice was pretty weak, you know. McCartney didn't have the greatest voice in rock and roll, but significantly better than Jimi Hendrix. Kramer does a vocal track of Hendrix, just intoning. He's saying, great sense of rhythm, yeah. You know, like Little Richard had a great sense of rhythm, and he had power too. That's an issue when you're dealing with singing. And some people have a great sense of rhythm and more range. Marvin Gaye is an example. More range, more power, frankly. There are any number of rock and roll singers with more power than Jimi Hendrix had. So Hendrix, you know, in an ideal group or something like an ideal group, wouldn't have been the lead singer or lead intoner or whatever. Probably wouldn't have been lyricist. Might have been working with someone who knew how to put words together and stuff like that. And then maybe he might have come up with something comparable to perfect revolver. Great album that it is nothing like Sgt. Pepper's. A lot of critics discovered that, American critics, I guess, discovered that the real revolver had 14 tracks on it, and not the, I think it was 11, was put on the American edition of it. And then they overrated revolver, especially with respect to Sgt. Pepper's. So this comes highly recommended if you care about rock and roll, or even if you don't care about rock and roll. I prefer Hendrix to. I've been listening a lot in the wee hour, shall we say, to John Coltrane. The problem with so much jazz is orchestration, like arrangements, orchestration, like and Coltrane I like because he tends to have some keyboards in there. I can't stand really the orchestration of I can appreciate parts in jazz where they have just three things going, a bass and I guess usually there'll be a bass and keyboards and some sort of horn. 5 minutes?
7.
So, Hendrix, they had him playing, there was an isolated track of him, Hendrix playing a electric sitar through I think it was either a wah-wah or a Leslie. And, that's a different kind of orchestration than what you get in jazz. I prefer him, although oftentimes he'd be, especially when he's doing the blues, he wouldn't have the same chordal sophistication that a jazz player would have, and so on and so forth. But very experimental kind of guy. Okay, Stones and Brian Jones. I was talking to Welsh people. Do not fall into the trap of some of the Welsh people I played soccer with. One of my dance instructors, and half of John Lennon fell into being cruelly teasing. I'm hoping that what I've run across is just too small a sample. But I have run across one nice Welsh guy and the one nice transplanted Italian from Wales. That's not good. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 against 2. It's bad. It's not enough for me to say I've had anything like a representative sample, but it does make me wonder. Anyway, this also comes recommended. It has Bill Wyman, who was the bassist for the Rolling Stones for probably something like 2 or maybe a little bit more decades. And you can see he appreciates Brian Jones, even though from what we could see and hear of Brian Jones' treatment of Wyman, Wyman was a favorite of Brian Jones to pick up. Wyman's being very objective. He's appreciating Brian Jones. And Brian Jones, I think, actually, might have had more musical talent in terms of performance than all the Rolling Stones and the Beatles combined. And that includes Paul McCartney, who had considerable musical talent. But unfortunately, Jones seemed to have a writing block about writing, and that wouldn't have been helped by his excessive use of various sorts of chemicals, and I'm going to say drugs. Alcohol seems to have been maybe one of the two things that contributed to him becoming less and less of an artistic force. The other being speed, and speed would have been, I think, even more dangerous. I think that's basically what killed Elvis Presley. So just don't try this at home. Don't try all this sort of stuff. Like I'll be reading Schopenhauer, or I'll be reviewing Schopenhauer. I'm still reading it. Got about 5% of this book, almost exactly 5% of this book to go. It's 10 pages out of 220. 11, I should say, out of 220. And he has one thought in there. I think it's original to him. These are his aphorisms, something like that in German. And he says something to the effect, I'm translating him, that in old age, misfortune is something that we protect ourselves from. In youth, it's something that we endure. And unfortunately, in many cases, it's something that youth brings onto itself. And it has to be endured in many cases, too many actually. It's unendurable. People end up killing themselves. Overusing drugs, just using them in the first place. Recreational drugs. Driving too fast, driving carelessly. Having unsafe sex. Getting into fights. Stuff like that. Marrying inappropriately, in the case of women. It happens on occasion. So, use them as an object lesson, folks. Most of you couldn't care less about Brian Jones, even the Rolling Stones, young pups. Never saw the 20th century born for the last 24 or so years. Yeah, object lesson. This guy died young, didn't leave an exactly beautiful corpse. This could be you. It's not me saying, oh man, I'm all broken up from my youth and all this sort of stuff. Don't do what I do. This guy was top of the world for a while. And it apparently wasn't enough. So we'll start talking about aphorisms. Anyway, this comes recommended, especially to young folks. Also, while I'm not a huge fan of the Rolling Stones, I far prefer the Beatles. You'll hear much better music than what's on the radio nowadays, and that's almost everything nowadays. Even Taylor Swift's gone to the dark side to his stuff. It sounds hippie puppy to me. 1.5 minutes?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, half a minute. So yeah, from Unterschiede der Lebensalter. So the last chapter, Kapitel or chapter 6, it's just the difference between youth and age. But I'll deal with the other thing, the first 5 things.
Okay.